Hello, and welcome to the Carla Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, crocheting, and always all of the yarny goodness that I love. Today is Saturday, March 22nd, and I'm coming to you from my home in Nebraska. A big hello to all returning viewers, and welcome if you are new. So glad that you stopped by. I do have show notes down below. That includes places you can find me, Instagram and Ravelry, and all of the patterns I talk about will be listed down below. So it's been about 3 weeks since I sat down to record a video, so I'm excited to be back with you all, and we will go ahead and get started. I'm very happy to have a finished object in this, so we will just go right ahead. So I have a couple finished objects, but this is my biggest one. So this is a sweater that I have been working on since January, I believe. Yes, since January. This is called the Midnight Garden Pullover by Andrea Rangel. It comes from this book. This is Knitovation Stitch Dictionary. And this was a gift from my husband Jeff to me for Christmas. And it has over 150 color work motifs in here that you can use in your own knitting, whether you want to try it on a sweater or socks or a hat, whatever. There are a bunch of different fun motifs, and included in the book were some patterns. And so I decided to go ahead and make the sweater that was in the book. It's been a while since I've done a color work sweater, and it is called the Midnight Garden Pullover. And hopefully I'm not showing you anything I shouldn't be, but a darker color makes a little bit more sense. But I have had this pink yarn in my pink yarn in my stash for quite some time. Excuse me. Originally intended it to be used for a cardigan, but never got around to it. And I thought, well, I think I have, enough to use for this sweater pattern. And I wasn't exactly sure about a contrasting color for the color work. My DK yarns on my shelf are pretty highly variegated. I don't really have a lot of tonals. But I did have this red in a fingering weight, and so I used that. I held the fingering weight double to use for the color work. The yarns that I used, the pink yarn is from Hobby, and it's Mayflower Easy Care Classic in the pink color. It comes in 50-gram skeins. I got some fuzz. And I believe if I had saved all of my tags, I believe I used 11 skeins of that. I still have some leftovers, and I have one full skein left. So I know I could, probably make a hat or something out of that leftover yarn, but it ate up 11 skeins of yarn. So that was pretty fun. It was exciting to know that I used that yarn. And the red is by Knitted Wit. Again, it's a fingering yarn, and it was a Valentine colorway called Lover's Knot, and I held that doubled. I had to go down a needle size to get the gauge for this sweater. I'm just gonna double check in my book here. So it calls for, I think it calls for a US 6. Let me just double check here. So it calls for a US size 6 for the stockinette stitch and the ribbing on here. And then it called for a size US 8 to go up on your color work if you needed that to get gauge. But it turns out that I used a US 5 throughout, and I did not go up a needle size for my color work. And the reason I did not was because the fingering held double was already a little bit thicker than the pink DK yarn, and so it helped that red was just slightly bigger, so I didn't really need to expand my needle size to work the color work. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, I used a US 5 throughout. So starts with casting on the neckline, working down. I stopped the body part way, and then I did both sleeves. I believe I had one sleeve or close to one sleeve done last time. The cuffs are about 3 inches long, and they're about, I mean, they're at a very comfortable length. Not quite bracelet length, but almost. And then the ribbing, and then after the sleeves, I picked up for the rest of the body, and it has a 3-inch ribbing for the bottom. I don't think I can really stand up and show you. It's, yeah, because it, I'll try. No, that's not going to work. Does this work at all? Okay. I don't know. So it's a pretty long sweater. I don't know how good of a picture that was. It's a pretty long sweater. It goes down past my hips, covers part of my bum, and it's just a very comfortable sweatshirty type sweatshirt. Before actually I did the sleeves, I did go ahead and do the I-cord for finishing the neckline, and I was very concerned when I did that. I mean, it was kind of niggling and bothering me in the back of my mind because it wasn't laying really nice. It was rolling. And so it looked like it was going to be showing the inside of the sweater, which, you know, you don't really want that. But after blocking it, it blocked really nice. I think it lays really well. So I absolutely love this sweatshirt. I finished it this past Monday, and I had some time in the morning, and I wove in all of my ends and blocked it. It did take a couple days to block, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I was definitely getting tired of knitting on this, and the main reason why is because it was starting to get really warm here in Nebraska. We were experiencing some days in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Well, mostly 60s and 70s. And then Monday, when I was finishing this up and weaving in ends, it was over 80 degrees. And I'm like, oh goodness, you know, trying to finish this sweater, which, you know, it's a warmer sweater, when it feels like, you know, spring and summer outside. So it was a little challenging, you know, pushing through to the end. But I blocked it. So 80 degrees on Monday, and then Wednesday here in town we had a blizzard. So in our state we had a blizzard, and our area got hit really strongly. So then it felt more like, okay, this is an appropriate time to have this sweater, and, you know, have been working on it. So I probably will not get I can't imagine any more time this season to wear it. I'm just wearing it today for the first time, but it will be ready for next, you know, late fall and winter. I will be very excited to wear this. It definitely gives me and one of my knitting friends in person, you know, some Valentine color vibes. And actually before Christmas, I was seeing some pink and red sweaters too. So I just kind of, you know, I think that was in my mind. I was seeing the pink and red together, so I kind of went with it for that. So I think it'll be a fun sweater in the winter time, kind of bright and cheery. But I love the floral color work motif. The red is a tonal, so there's variations in the shades of red when you're in person. So I can't say enough good about it. It's a wonderful sweater, so I'm very excited to have completed this. Yeah, so that is what I'm wearing today and my first finished object. I have one additional finished object today, and that is a pair of socks. So I got my green socks done. I had shared some yarns that I was interested in using this year, and this beautiful dark green skein of yarn that was in my stash was calling to me because I have quite a bit of dark green and navy in my work wardrobe, I guess I would say. So I thought this would be good to have these socks for work. So I did use this. This is, let me see, this is the Yarn at Home Mom, and I did find the tag, and it's in the colorway Douglas, so for Douglas fur, which is perfect. It's on her shimmer sock base, and I don't know if you will be able to see any of the beautiful gold stellina in there. I used the pattern, so it's a patterned sock. This is by Carlie Perrins. It's Harvest, and it's from a collection of 3 socks from Sweater Weather Sock Collection, Cuff Down. And this is the second time that I have done this pattern. I really enjoyed working on this. It doesn't seem to go as fast as a vanilla sock because you do have to concentrate a little bit on the pattern, the stitch pattern, but it was by no means difficult. It just seemed to take a little bit longer. I really like the fact that Carlie Perrins does her socks and offers them in both cuff down and toe up version. So what that means is knitters can knit them starting at the cuff of the sock, working down, or some like to work from the toe and go up the sock. And so it's really nice that you can, you know, choose any of her patterns and you can knit it the way that you enjoy knitting socks. So this certainly will not be my last time making this pattern, and I hope you are able to see the pretty stitches in there. It might be difficult with the dark green yarn, but it is a very, very pretty pattern. It looks like cables, but they are twisted stitches, so not hard at all to do. So those are my Harvest socks. It's getting a little warm for for probably wearing some of my things that I usually wear, so I don't know that these will get use this season anymore, but these will be very welcome next fall and winter for wearing my socks, for when I wear socks. I am wearing knitted socks today. I have a pair of Shorty socks on, so that's fun. But I am starting to get a little bit away from the knitted socks as the temperature gets a little warmer outside. So those are the 2 finished objects that I have for today. I have been really concentrating on just 3 projects. And so for the last several weeks, I've been completing my sock, and I believe I did 1 sock, the second sock, maybe in a week or a week and a half. I just kind of pushed through, to do it because I wasn't thinking I was going to get this done, but I kind of just thought, yep, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So sweater, socks, and then let me share my works in progress. The other one that has gotten a lot of attention, set some of my stuff down, has been in this bag, which is an Indie Untangled bag, which I thought was really cute. And inside here, I've got many, many different scraps of DK weight or worsted weight yarn, including now some leftovers from my sweater. So that's gonna go into this project too. This is a Scrappy project that I started last month. This is my crochet blanket. This is a corner to corner blanket, and I'm kind of still attached to a ball here. So let me show you this. I absolutely love the colors in this blanket. And you can see where I was last time. I've got that big sparkly sheep stitch marker on there. And so I have done quite a bit of work on this. So the pattern that I am using, oops, excuse me, dropped my notes here. The pattern that I'm using is based on a corner to corner dishcloth pattern that I was gifted last year. I think that was you, Kelly. Thank you. So it's a corner to corner dishcloth pattern. It uses the linen stitch in crochet. This is a crochet project. That dishcloth pattern is by Agat Rottman, also known as Goody. Isn't that a great name? And so I'm still debating about whether I want to make this into a big square, but I think I'm leaning more towards doing it into a rectangle. And so she includes directions in that dishcloth pattern on how to do square or a rectangle. So if I were to do a rectangle, you know, this is the width of it, and I still want it to be maybe a little bit wider before I turn it into a rectangle. I want it to be a really nice, and maybe it's already pretty good, a really nice lap size throw. So I have a lot of DK weight and worsted weight scraps and fingering weight scraps in my dresser over here, and I'm trying to kind of keep it in this sort of color palette of pinks and mints, creams, different tones like that. So not too crazy. I have a lot of dark yarns in there that I didn't really want to add some really dark yarns in there. So I'm trying to keep it more pastels and pinks and just some lighter colors to keep it a little lighter. It kind of reminds me of ice cream. But I don't know for sure that I'm going to have enough to do a whole blanket. So someone last month had, or the last podcast had suggested, you know, fingering weight. So I do have fingering weight yarn that I could use. I have been magic knotting my DK scraps together, but I could definitely hold fingering weight double and add that in here too, although I don't know that I can't really double knot 2 fingerings to a one strand of a DK weight. I don't think. I'm just not sure if that would work. I really don't know. So I might have to do some, you know, if I add 2 fingering weights in here held double, then I probably would have to weave in ends, and that's not a big deal. So definitely if I add some fingering weight yarns in here, I should have enough, because there's a lot of nice lighter pastel colors that I have. But I absolutely love this project. It is fun. It is scrappy, going through the different colors, you know, changing fairly often, very mindless. So lots of fun, and it definitely eats up your scraps. So that's what I need to do, because I've got lots of leftover yarns. So excited to be using some of them in this beautiful blanket project. All right, I will set that down. So those were the 3 main projects that I was working on. When I of course was thinking all along, oh, I'd like to cast on this, I'd like to cast on this, but I told myself, no, you'll be happier in the long run, you know, if you just limit your projects. So I finished this on Monday. It was blocking. I finished my socks this week also. Wednesday or Thursday. And so I was able to I actually cast on 2 pairs of socks. So that was really fun to cast on a new pair of socks. It always is. The first is in this bag. It uses, I think it's that Riley Blake print, the retro telephones, which I think is so fun. And this is a bag I made quite some time ago. It just has gold fabric lining. In it, I am working on a Christmas sock for my husband's uncle. And here it is so far. And I think I did start this on Thursday, so that's already some decent progress for just a couple days. I like how the yarn is patterning up. This is by Regia. It's an Arnie and Carlos design line. And I'm not sure, I got this from Wool Warehouse, and I don't know if this is a discontinued colorway, but the color number is 03891. And I just liked that dark blue and black. I thought that would make a nice pair of socks. Yeah, so this will be the first pair of socks that I am knitting for Uncle Stuart. I shared last time that I texted him and asked him if that was something he'd be interested in, and he said, "Oh yes." So I think he will really enjoy these socks. So really excited. After having worked on, you know, a pattern pair of socks, when I started knitting this up, it's just felt like this was going pretty fast because it's just really mindless knitting, and that's super fun. So I cast that on Thursday, or was it Wednesday? I don't know. I'm losing track of time. And then I also cast on another pair of socks. This is a Shorty pair, and I've already dropped my notes again, so I apologize. This is a pattern by Buckingham, also known as Knit on Designs. This is Cozy Time Socks, and this is a patterned sock. It's a patterned Shorty, and so I really wanted to use a color that felt springy as the weather, you know, has sort of been turning warmer now. It felt fun to use a lighter color yarn. So this beautiful yellow speckled yarn is so pretty. Let me show you that. Isn't that pretty? This I've had in my stash for several years now. It is by Wildflower yarn, dyed in the UK. And the colorway is Birthday Cake. So it definitely is fun and speckly for Birthday Cake. But I just thought it looked really springy. And the pattern, it does kind of look like tiny cables, but it's not. You are using, again, twisted stitches, similar to what I used in the Harvest sock pattern, although this one just uses one type of twist. And so it's going pretty quickly. I did it, you use the pattern right away in the cuff. So you have twisted stitches, knit stitches, and then purls. And then it just goes right into the body of the sock. I have the heel done, heel flap and gusset. I believe I still probably have a few decreases for the gusset. But it is going to be a Shorty sock. And it's just a really bright, cheery color. So I'm definitely enjoying this. And even though it's a pattern sock, it's a Shorty sock, so it will go fairly quick. Not that I need it to go quick, but I felt like the green socks took a while. So just fun to have some things that are maybe a little, that at least feel mentally a little quicker. But absolutely love the yarn. This is living in another bag that I made years ago, a drawstring bag, and that pretty fabric. Isn't that sweet? Yeah. And then I wound up yarn actually for a third pair of socks, and I almost cast that on, but I'm like, okay, why don't you see how these two socks go before you decide to cast on that third. But it will be ready to go when I am ready, and I will share that yarn with you. And that one is going to be in my Michigan bag. So home, it's by Special T Sewing on Etsy. I don't believe she has a shop anymore, but I grew up in Michigan. That kind of represents the Grand Haven and Spring Lake area where I grew up in. And this is going to be a pair of socks for my niece. And I asked my sister what colors, does my niece like? And she had said probably a navy or navy and black, which the pair of socks for Uncle Stuart definitely fit that bill. But I have another sock set from Amber of Maker's Haven. And it came, so this is, I took the 50-gram skein and I divided it in half. So I have 2 of these, and then this is the contrast that came with it, which sort of looks black. I don't know if you can see on the screen. It's actually a very, very, very deep purple. And so I thought that would go together nicely. Her birthday is in December, so I don't really want to make a shorty pair of socks. So I'm trying, and I only have 50 grams of the main skein. So I think I might do, I have just a tonal navy sock yarn. I don't remember where this came from. I thought I could do this for the cuff, and then I might do that, and then I would go into this possibly for the heel flap or toe. I'm just not exactly sure how far that is going to get me, but I did divide it up. So I have 2 of these. So I hope to get started on that sometime. And maybe I will cast it on, because I, 3 socks, because I kind of feel like doing some sock knitting right now. As I was finishing up my sweater, I'm just like thinking about projects and looking through Ravelry and all my favorites on Ravelry, which are in the thousands, and trying to figure out what I wanted to make, and, getting a little overwhelmed. And I'm like, you love making socks. They're nice and easy. They're very portable. I take them, in the car with me. I take them to work with me. They're always with me. So let's just cast on some socks. So I'm very happy. It was very fun to cast on 2 new pairs of socks this week. Those are all the projects I currently have on my needles, the socks and the blanket, but I'd like to share some upcoming projects. So I was thinking about the yarns in my stash, and I was thinking about my sweater quantities. And as the weather, has been hinting more towards spring, I kind of would like to do a spring sweater or 2. But none of the sweater quantities in my stash currently lend themselves to that. I have, several that are wool and that are worsted weight or DK weight, and something that's definitely going to be for late fall and winter, or early spring, when it's still cool. But I thought, it would be fun to work on something, in the season right now. So I have 2 sweaters that I am interested in, and I have yarn ordered for them. So the first is the it's kind of a t-shirt style sweater. It's Etta by Alison Green, and it uses Berroco summer sesame yarn. Now the yarn normally retails $17 to $20 a skein, but I found a store that had some on sale for $10 a skein. So I'm like, okay, that's definitely a much more affordable way to go. And it was a colorway that was pleasing enough to me. So I will share that when it comes, probably in the next episode. So I don't have this yarn here, because these were all things I was thinking about this week. So I think this is a really sweet sweater. Hopefully it won't be too crazy busy with all the stripes, or the striping yarn and everything, but me, I like my color. I like patterns, so I think it'll be okay. And I have a couple pair of linen pants that I wear in the summer, and I think it's going to go really nicely with that, as well as this other sweater. It is called the Magna Flora, and that's by Alisa Hartzel. And let's see, it calls for worsted weight, and it's done on big needles, so it's a very big gauge, similar to the Kaisa tee that I have made before, which I've made 2 of, or the Love Note when or the ranunculus that you do on bigger needles, so it's a more open gauge. So this Magna Flora in the pattern photos, it is shown very cropped, but I am not planning on going that cropped by any means. I will definitely be adding length to it, but I am going to use Garn Studio Drops Belle, so more of a summer yarn. So yeah, for worsted weight, I definitely didn't want like a worsted merino. I thought that's not going to work for for our summers here in Nebraska, which get really warm and humid. But I think this yarn will work really well. I didn't write down the composition, but I want to say linen, cotton, some kind of blend for this. And I found this yarn a couple places. It was on Lind Hobby. I don't know if any of you have ordered from there before. And then also Wool Warehouse. And it was cheaper on Wool Warehouse. And the shipping was not bad at all. The shipping was just a little over $5. Each skein of yarn was, I think, $2.87. So a really pretty affordable top. So I'm just looking forward to working on some of these short sleeve tops that hopefully I can get some use, you know, not probably in the 90+ degree weather of summer, but at some point, or if I'm going to be somewhere where there's air conditioning, I think these would be very nice to wear. And I'm excited to work on some spring garments. So hopefully, you know, I will be getting that yarn within the next week or so, and we'll pick which one I want to get started on. So that is what I have been up to, just keeping really busy with work. We did have spring break in there, which was very nice. Just got a lot of projects done at home, did some cleaning, did some reorganizing of things, and that feels like that's an ongoing project that we always have to do. We've had our daughter Jenna home this past week on spring break, so it's been really nice having her here. I had mentioned in the episode that, yeah, weather-wise, this week was crazy. You know, 80 degrees on Monday, and then Wednesday, like full-on blizzard. I mean, winds howling in excess of like 60 to 70 miles per hour, and very, very heavy wet snow. So our whole town, well, many surrounding areas where everybody, no school those days, and some people are still without power. Lots of trees, bigger tree branches down, lots of debris from all the wind and the heavy snow. So there's some cleanup to do. We were very, very fortunate that we did not lose power. So my heart goes out to those who probably will still be waiting a little bit longer for power to be restored. But it's been crazy weather, but I think probably, you know, just kind of looking forward at the forecast, that's probably it for the snow. And so now we'll look forward to the spring, and yep, that'll be nice. That'll be a nice change. So I hope that you are all doing well. I would love to hear what you're working on. I'm curious, do you have a favorite spring or summer top that you have knit before? And are you currently working on any spring garments? I would love to hear, you know, if you'd like to share that, or whatever projects you are working on. I really, truly enjoy interacting with you that way in the comments. So if you liked this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and give it a thumbs up. And I hope to be back with you again in a couple of weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.